This is a rather unusual video that I'm doing, and I have here Vasos or Vas, and he's come really for a one-to-one class with me today. And I didn't want to waste the opportunity because rarely do I come across an enthusiast or an amateur who is almost professional. And I'm so impressed with the things that he has created over the last, is it 25 years? So you've been doing bonsai 25 years?
Yeah.
All on your own?
All on my own.
And you bought some small trees and started from there and buy one or two other trees. But the quality of the trees that he has made has literally astounded me, so much so that I've asked Vasos's permission to do a little video together so that we can give other YouTube fans encouragement as to what is possible. Now, tell me something about this tree and that tree, because there's a long history.
Okay, so this tree was originally bought for me as a gift 25 years ago.
25 years?
Yeah, 25 years. And at that point I had absolutely no knowledge or experience of keeping bonsai, let alone styling.
Oh. How big was it when you bought? It
was
this size?
No, a little bit bigger than that.
Okay. Okay.
But I've always kept it in the same size pot just to kind of restrict the growth. So I had no idea about even how I'd go about pruning the tree. So I was kind of self-taught, trial and error, and I was living in a flat, and I remember specifically at the time thinking, you know, I love the tree, absolutely love the tree. And I remember thinking to myself, I hope it doesn't die. And as a security, I took some cuttings from this tree and grew this tree.
So this is a cutting from this tree?
Yeah.
Amazing. About 20 years or more? Less?
Just over 22 years.
Okay, 22 years.
23 years. So it was a tiny little
cutting.
Okay. Typical of
I can well believe it, yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing. I just put it into a little seed plug. It striked and grew this. But like I said, this was grown as a security in case I ever killed that one.
All right.
So it was a backup. But yeah, as the years went on, I started to read more, learn more. But I never took any kind of formal training. I never went to see anyone with my trees.
So in a way that is good, because sometimes when you are trained and follow too much the conventional wisdom, you get into a rut where you're producing everything the same. I like the trees that you've made because you have broken a lot of rules. You've done it inadvertently, but those of you who remember my book, Bonsai Masterclass, in fact, one or two people who are great bonsai artists in their own right, they told me that they were inspired by my Bonsai Masterclass book, which was published in '87. And I devote quite a few pages about breaking the rules, where you've got to know the rules to break it. And once you break those rules, they become fresh and really different. Now, in your case, you probably didn't even know the rules, so you didn't know what rules were, so you just done it automatically. If we were to look at some of the elms that you buy from China, they come imported, they're all the same. This is completely different. This, you must admit, is quite different from the Chinese elms you can buy in the open market. So this is why this tree is so fresh looking and so vibrant. I was going to suggest a few things. If you come closer and have a look at this tree, for instance. Now this tree, let's look at the positive points first. The shape is very good, the nice triangular shape, and it's got a beautiful movement in the trunk, which probably you've added a little more. And it is a very full tree. Normally, one would not make the tree so full, but because it's so full and dense, it looks a very mature tree. I can give you some examples of where there are what we call the conventional faults. Some people who know all the rules but don't appreciate bonsai There's a big difference between that. They know the rules, but they don't know what is art. So they will say that this branch straight away is a fault. Why? Because it comes straight out at you. You don't need to read it. You don't need it. Look at it. You don't really need that tree. If we, this branch, sorry, if we were to use the bag trick, you don't need it. You could open out the trunk more, but because it's there, half hiding the trunk, it makes it beautiful. So for that reason, I would leave it. I would not take it out. What would you like to say? What are your thoughts on why you put it there?
I guess it just felt too bare here.
Ah, absolutely right. You're right. So because it was bare, you broke a rule by putting a branch coming out at you, and it works. If it's not there, it would not work. Now another fault I can see, that this is from the inside of the branch, and probably this whole tree is very dense. I like this tree because it's dense, but for some other people, they would say that it is too dense. You really don't need this branch at all. You see, you can create more space by taking this branch out and giving more space. You could create much more space, much more gaps between successive branches. But because it's a nice dense tree, I like it.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with it. You could take it out because it's coming from the inside of the bend. If you come close, you see, from inside the bend, that really is a fault. But it works. It works. So I would not take it out. Same with this one. This is also coming from the inside. That I would leave. But this, there's a case for taking this out. But I wouldn't. It will spoil the tree. And as we look right through the tree, like this one, this pad here, this is called a pad. Now this pad, there's a branch jutting upwards, going up there to form another pad. Now, most people would not think of doing it, but the way you've done it is perfect. You could take it out and create more space, but again, I like it there. Now let us look at this side. Okay, this could possibly be a front if you wanted to. There's no reason why you can't make this the front. And if I were to make this the front, I would possibly take this out to make it more open. Make it more open. So this is how I analyze the tree. But I won't. But I still think this tree is nice from every side. And I think a rectangular or oval pot would fit it. We might just change the pot and see if it looks right. But then these Chinese pots have a character of their own. A lot of people, you know, don't think that Chinese pots are nice because they're rather crude. But these are traditional, ancient Chinese, Cantonese green glazed pots. And many of the elms are planted in there. So if you analyze the tree, you can find lots of supposed faults to the tree. Let's look at this one. Looking at this one, if you come close, Jack, you see over here? See that branch there? What's it doing? It's doing nothing really. But okay, you might cut it off. You might lose that. That's the only thing that could be lost without affecting it. By why? It's filling a space. I'm not bothered about that. So, as I said, this
maybe this
could be at the front. This could be a front because it's coming that way and then kicking back on itself. So you probably don't need this, but I don't know. What do you use as the front? Which side do you use as the front?
It depends. I try and rotate the tree just so, you know, all sides get the sun. But yeah, I always, I work on all sides, so it's beautiful from all sides.
So this is another thing. We're breaking another very fundamental rule. We always tell people, oh, you've got to have a front, you've got to have a back. I remember when I met John Narker in 1976, when he came to UK for the first time, he had a very famous saying. He says, sometimes the back side can be as pretty as the front side. You know, I don't know what he meant by that, but we knew what he meant, because sometimes the back of the tree can be as nice as the front of the tree. So you don't have to have a front, you don't have to have a back. A tree is a tree.
Yeah.
whichever way you look at it.
Beautiful
So that's,
from all sides.
it's beautiful from all sides. So that's another thing that we can debunk straight away. So I'm glad you brought this tree, but frankly, apart from that little branch that I mentioned, but why cut it off? It's growing well. So this, the beauty of this tree, it looks nice from every side. It's got a beautiful shape. And these I know are the new leaves, so they're very small, and you've been keeping it in very good condition. I wouldn't even change the pot. I would say I would still leave it in this pot. And how often do you repot this tree?
I haven't repotted this for probably 6 years.
6 years.
Something
Okay,
like that.
that's perfectly all right. Again, another great fallacy. People say, oh, I've got to repot the tree every time. I have customers who bought a tree in November and they repot it straight away. And then they say, oh, my tree is dying. I said, did you repot the tree? They said, yes. I said, why did you repot the tree? They said, oh, I thought you have to repot it every year. You don't have to repot the tree every year. If the tree is growing well, why do you touch it? It's like if you're healthy, why do you go to the doctor and ask him to open your stomach up and cut you up? You don't have to do that. So if the tree is growing well, it can stay in the pot for a long time. Provided you feed it, it will be okay. And in fact, keeping it pot bound will reduce the size of the leaves. So this, as I say, nothing wrong with it. So although you've come for a one-to-one lesson with me, I feel bad charging you even, because there's nothing to tell except to reassure you. Now this is your beautiful cutting that you've made. Okay, now which do you use as the front? This side or that?
Again, I just view it from all sides.
Okay, let's look at the other side. Again, you must admit it is beautiful from every side. Okay, if I were to use this as the side, I like the beautiful movement of the trunk. If we were to use this as the front, people would say that this is a fault because it's hiding the trunk. See, this is hiding the trunk. But does it matter? Does it matter? It's still a beautiful tree. It's still a beautiful tree. Okay, if I use this as the front, okay, you see more of the trunk there. This is also nice. But if you look at the tree critically, either from this side or that side, both sides are nice. In fact, this side, which most conventional bonsai people would argue is the front, I prefer that this is the front because it looks fuller to me, this side. It looks more like a natural tree, although that branch is hiding the trunk. This side is not as nice as the other side, in my view. I know you've done a little gin there.
Yeah,
okay,
well,
okay, that's fine. Okay.
Again, I didn't know what I was
doing. And again, see, people would keep that branch clear so that you see more of the trunk, but it's hiding the trunk. It's perfectly okay. The balance is nice. The lines of the tree is very nice. So there you go on this one. Okay, now you brought several trees.
Yeah.
We will look at all those trees as well and see if we need to work. Bring the white pine first.
Make sure I bring the right tree.
Yeah, okay. Okay, tell me the history of this tree.
So I haven't had this one as long, probably 6 years.
6 years, okay.
Like that. And
has it grown much since then?
Yeah, loads.
Okay, how big was it when you bought it?
Probably
up to here?
Not quite, maybe.
Did you grow all this?
Yeah, because I got rid of the original leader.
Okay.
And created a new one.
Okay.
The tree was much narrower.
Yeah.
The branches were a lot thinner, a lot spindlier. It was also a lot more crowded.
Yeah.
There was a lot of growth down at the lower part, which I got rid of. And there was another huge branch coming out from here.
Yeah, you took that out.
Which was crowding it, so I took that out. And then I tried to pull this one a little bit further into the middle. And this one was sat a lot higher.
So you're pulling it down
so
with
I'm
a guy rope, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm pulling this one down as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is probably.
So you've had it 6 years, you say?
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. And it's grown. Has the trunk thickened in the time?
Yeah. Trunk has thickened.
I can see the pot was like a round pot this size. Yeah.
Yeah. But I found this a lot more difficult to work on.
Okay.
I didn't understand the concept of the candles
Yeah.
and how you needed to.
So how have you been dealing with the candles?
So originally, I didn't even understand that if you took the candles off completely on this white pine, that the branch would die, or there's a
No,
risk that
not
the branch
necessarily
would
true.
die.
No. So what have you been doing?
So-
Removing some candles?
No, so what I do is pinch them to about halfway
Yes.
initially. I don't do it all at once.
Yes.
I sort of work on over a stage of
Yeah.
a couple of weeks.
Can we
so,
look closely at the candles? Yeah.
so it doesn't stress the tree
Yes.
out too much. So I just literally
Yeah.
break them with my fingers.
Yeah, okay. So these are the new candles coming. So this is the ideal time, perhaps. Okay, you're doing all the right things.
The one thing I really struggled with this tree is that this is the first year it's never done it. But usually it will produce these little red flowers.
Flowers, that's right.
And the candles get really long
From that flower, yeah.
and leggy.
Yeah,
And the needles don't start until
Yeah.
the very end of the candle.
yeah.
So that's the thing I've always really struggled with the white pine. But for
But it's
some
very
reason-
healthy. It's very healthy. Now, what are you going to do with it now?
I don't know.
Don't you
really-
remove some candles? So what you told me now is perfectly okay. So a halfway house, rather than remove all the candles, is to remove half the candle, like that. Then it will keep it tight. Otherwise, if you don't remove or don't control the candle, it becomes a long branch. Like that would be a candle from last year. So you need to keep it trimmed back, or also remove it completely. If you remove it completely, that's also okay, because there is green. It will produce more bud back further down the branch. So don't worry about that. You can do that.
So I always, reading the books,
Yes.
it always said that the white pine rarely bud back.
No, that's not true.
Right.
You see, look, this branch here. See, that branch is bud back from, say, 2 years back. So it does happen. So from here you can get bud back. So don't worry about that. So they will bud back. Of course, these mass-produced pines, they're grafted. You see the
Yeah.
graft here. The graft is rather ugly. Well, you can't help it. You can't do anything about it. It's one of those things, you know. You can score it and help to thicken it. I used to do like with a Stanley knife, just cut zigzag lines, and that will help to swell the trunk to make it thicker. That you can probably pare down with a branch cutter, remove some of that, but you could endanger the tree. But that's something you've got to live with. That little dead branch is doing nothing. You
No.
might as well remove it. But you've done a good job keeping the pads and the levels quite spaced. So and don't keep the tree taller than that. The front is this side because it's more open, and this is the back really that's leaning that side. So there's one for now. I like this typical, ingenuity that the Japanese growers would have done. They take a branch up and then take the pad there to fill that space. So that is perfectly acceptable, perfectly acceptable. This typical commercial tree, but it's very healthy. And I see you just done minimum wiring and using these strings guys to pull it together.
Yeah.
So this tree is okay. And again, how often do you repot this?
This one I haven't repotted
Since when?
since I bought it.
6 years.
Yeah.
There you are. This is
probably-
what I would like to tell you. A lot of people think that you've got to repot every tree every year, or at least once every other year. I always maintain that pines and junipers are the two evergreens or the two species that you don't have to repot that often. I've got some junipers and pines that I have not done for 10 or 12 years, and they're perfectly fine. As long as you feed it well, that's okay. With the 5-needle pine or the Japanese white pine, they don't like their roots cut too much. In Japan, where they get a lot of rainy weather in the summer, they can prune with impunity and cut the roots with impunity, and it survives. But in the West, if you cut too much root, the trees die. So where most people go wrong with Japanese white pine in the Western Hemisphere is that they are too enthusiastic cutting the root. So when you repot a Japanese white pine, take the minimum amount of root off and just repot it like that without going to extremes. So again, this tree is doing well. Let's look at all your other trees and then we will see what needs doing.
So this is
Chinese larch.
yeah.
Was it like this with the two trees together?
It was, but this one was much smaller,
Okay.
and this was much taller. So I've tried to just compact it a little more.
Yeah.
The pot was much smaller,
Okay.
but yeah.
Okay.
Again, what I've been trying to do with the wiring,
Get the pads flat.
yeah, get the pads flat and then just have it
Yeah. Very nice.
just droop down a little bit.
Yeah. So this is not a twin trunk, it's two trees and it's very skillfully planted. It's very natural. A lot of people put two trees almost like a twin trunk touching, but being spaced like this, it works. I like it. I like it. Maybe this one could be removed so that you show more trunk there. That one may be taken more that side. Yeah, that's okay. Again, you're doing your own thing, which is perfectly okay. Your wiring is good, 2-branch principle throughout. Nothing really to complain about. I think this tree, if was put in a little longer, slightly shallower oval pot, would make a nice landscape, so that would suit the style of this tree. So that's the only comment I would make. Maybe make a little more of a cone to the top.
I have noticed with this tree, I'm getting, for no reason, sometimes I'll cut the shoots back and
Die back there.
yeah, the branches
that
will
happens.
die back.
Yeah. Maybe when you prune, you need to make sure that there's another shoot behind, like this one. You can prune up to here because there are shoots there. But if you prune over here, it'll die back to there. So you got to leave some green there.
So I always, like, I'll let these extend out
Yeah.
a little more. Then I'll sort of prune it back down
Yeah.
to maybe 1 or 2
Okay,
nodes.
see, supposing if you were to prune this here, it'll die back there.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure that there is some growth there. See, if I were to prune this off, it's okay because I've got that growing. But if I were to prune it here, this will die back from here to there, that 1-inch space. So just make sure there's something behind it before you prune. Like this one, you can prune here because you got these growing.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that is the general principle. So again, this one may be, you can still do it now if you want to repot because we won't disturb the root. We just spread the soil out. You can consider that.
Yeah.
And then one more, which is a fairly
this
new
is-
one.
This is,
Deishojo, was it? Was it red one or just a green one?
I don't know, Peter.
Okay. All right.
So this is my most recent addition.
It's a nice tree. It's imported, I think. It's a Japanese tree.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do with it? You
well-
want to refine it?
Yeah, this is,
It's a lovely tree because the nebari is good. The root base is very nice here. Have a close look, you see? Root base is excellent, beautiful nebari. Yeah, the roots are very good. Roots are in good condition. Did you do the wiring?
yes.
Okay.
I did that this Christmas.
Okay.
But I've not got much experience with maples at all. I grow maple trees in the garden, and I do.
It's
mess
worth
about with
making this a
those.
slightly bigger bonsai. And because the base is nice, there are 1 or 2 obvious things you can take out, like that one is doing nothing.
Let's do it, Peter.
It's very congested, so I think that can come out.
This one here.
Yeah, let's bring you the fellow. Can you let me have the red secateurs? Okay, if you can cut this off, you do that.
This one
Yeah,
here. Both of
cut.
them.
Yeah, yeah.
Shall I leave?
From the trunk, cut the whole thing off. You don't need it. Okay, so we do that. Okay, and then you just want to mind you that this tree is being grown for the future to make more of a specimen. Now this is okay, this is a bit coming up. We try to keep the branches down. Even these can be kept more going downwards. This can be kept for now. There's some weak branches around. These can also be wired to make it go flatter. If you use a thick wire those flat. And we wire these also a bit flat, concentrate on a leader. This is going inwards. We don't need this one, maybe cut it there, but eventually that can be taken out. Maybe just let everything grow, but you need to control these upward growing branches.
Yeah.
You've done right over here. These you can also wire more flat. Like that. And this one may be, because it's growing too strong, you may need to cut that off and train these branches.
Cut this off where?
Over there. Certainly it's rising too much. It's rising too much. It may make it look like a very bushy tree. So let's decide on the front first before we make any drastic decisions or mistake. If we look at it, in fact the base is so nice. It's nice from virtually every side. If you come close, you look at the base here, that's very nice. So this is a possible front. If we were to use this as a front, this is also nice, very nice base. Very nice base from every side. This is hiding it a bit, but then we want to grow the tree a little taller. So encourage this to be the new leader, up here. This one to be the leader.
This here,
yeah, grow that as the leader. So there are some inward growing branches like that I would take out. Anything growing inwards we take out. Also, if you have too many branches in one spot, you can get inverse taper. So you got to watch that. Maybe don't let it grow so vigorous. Don't make it too vigorous. So reducing the number of shoots or branches can reduce the vigor. So it reduces.
So this is our leader here.
Yeah, that's the leader there. So your front is here. That's your leader. So this way we can take it off completely. And then we should encourage the tree to start doing this. So with thick wire, so that one you don't need. See, you see, obviously you don't need this, sir. Okay, you've done those. Okay. Now this branch worries me, but it makes it full. But maybe leave it and encourage branches to grow sideways. So we can get another level there. So this one certainly you can flatten it with wire. These two you can flatten with wire. So let me just show you with a piece of thick wire. Now when we do wiring on these maples, we try to do what is called an open coil wiring so that it's not strangling the branches. Okay, I'm just trying to look for an anchor point.
I never knew open coil wiring was a thing, but that's the way I always used to do it. Just to leave space.
Yeah, not tight, not tight.
I've made that mistake before in the past.
So don't worry about what it looks like because we're only training the tree. We're not showing the tree. So the wire at this stage is not important. Okay, I'm trying to follow the same path of that wire so that it doesn't look unsightly. So by open coil, mean open coil like that, literally like a
okay.
big spring. And then use it to flatten, see like that. I'm not going to mark the wires. The natural tendency of all branches, of all trees, is to spring upwards. And because in bonsai we're trying to create an image of an old tree where the weight of the branches makes them hang downwards,
Yeah.
we make the branches hang down. Their natural inclination is to go upwards. So can you see how I flattened these two?
Yes, yes.
So we're flattening. So this is a problem here,
It is, isn't it?
you know. I would bite the bullet and take it out. So you're going to get that. Can you see? I've opened that out. Huh? And then you can do this. You have a go. Just try to do these two together.
Okay.
Maybe use this wire. Let me just see how much wire to use. I'm using thick wire so that there's no doubt that it'll work. Go around the trunk. So now this one you don't need. Huh? These little ones, see, they're just rogue shoots.
So this one here.
Yeah. Yeah, and then go down to that part.
So open coil.
Yeah. Anchor, I would anchor the other branch first. Anchor, just one loop to just give it an anchor so it doesn't flop about. Always give a little anchor. There, now you can work on this more comfortably. And I think this you don't need to keep on for more than a year. I think you can keep it a bit tighter around the trunk.
Okay.
Okay, let's see what.
Maybe tight around the trunk.
Yeah, it could have been tighter on the trunk. I always support it with two hands in case it snaps. Maples are very brittle, you know, they can snap.
Yeah.
We've done it, okay. See, we have flattened it.
Yeah.
We've flattened it. We flattened that. Now this I would grow on for the time being.
What about this one, Peter? This seems
That's a problem, yeah. That one is a problem, it's shooting up, but it's filling the space there for now. I think we can deal with it later on by removing this. In fact, there is too much. See, the more you analyze, the more you see the faults, potential faults. Okay, we've let more light in, so that's going to let it grow well. This is still the front. This is still a problem branch, but I would leave it for now. It'll help to thicken that part. So I'm not too worried about that.
Because these are.
I think we can overcome that by doing this. See how we've opened it up more, huh? See? Huh?
Yeah,
agree?
wow.
And I would suggest, rather than that pot, to give it a chance to grow, we will find a training pot of some kind, either a plastic one, or we will do it for you. But just plant it in a bigger pot, much bigger pot. Okay, so I'm going to put this in a larger mica pot, training pot, and I'm simply going to loosen the roots. The Nibari is very good. So although we're in the first week of May, today is the 6th of May, I'm not repotting. I'm just putting it in a bigger pot and loosening the roots. I'm not cutting the root, not doing anything of the sort. And this, I reckon, you can do throughout the year without harming the tree, provided you don't cut the root. Okay. I'm not even touching the bottom of the tree, so it's going to be a bit proud, but this is only a temporary thing to make the tree strong and grow the tree strong. I'm even going to find a bit of sphagnum moss. You know the old sphagnum moss trick, to put it around the roots, just to help it along. So we do different things to bonsai, different times of the life of the tree to achieve different ends. So what we're doing now is to make this a larger tree because it deserves to be a nice specimen tree. The good points about this tree is that the nebari is very good, the taper is excellent, and we've just trimmed away some of the unwanted branches, and we're going to grow it on into a bigger tree. And because I haven't cut the root, you can feed it in a couple of weeks' time. Keep giving a lot of feed throughout the year. Not throughout the year, we're now into May. Maybe we're going to feed end of May, and then one more feed, I would say, around July time. And if you wish to put a very low nitrogen fertilizer in end August, early September, that would be nice. Now let's look at the tree on the turntable now. And if we can recollect what the tree was like before, we should see a difference. So there's your tree, potential specimen tree.
Beautiful.
Okay, so we've improved that. We're going to repot this, and the pot is a bit shorter than the root ball, so I need to take some off. And although we say that outside the repotting season I don't cut much root, but certain species like the elms are such vigorous trees that we can do this. So it's my famous cake cutting process. There's hardly any root there, so not much damage has been done. Some of these thick ones can come off. And as always, I simply loosen the edges. And the roots will mesh with the new soil. All the roots are very healthy, so it's a good sign. I need to take a little more off. So we tie it just to prevent it getting knocked out accidentally. So changing the pot is like changing the clothes that a person wears. It gives it a different look. So we will now look at all the trees, and if I can get the film editor to compare to what it was before, you will see the difference. So here is the maple in a mica pot. It was in this pot before, so it looks quite different. And we took quite a few of the small branches off. So that's the amount of stuff I took off that tree. I've opened it out, hoping it'll grow a little more. So that's that one. And then this was the elm which was grown from a cutting. It's in a nice Japanese tokoname bonsai pot, oval, shallow oval. And as I said, it's nice from either side. This is a tree that looks nice from this side or that side. Makes no difference. And then the 2-tree Chinese larch we put in a nice Yixing glaze pot. So that looks different. And then the bigger Chinese elm, we've changed it from that Guangdong green glaze pot to this Yixing dark blue cobalt blue pot. Again, this is a tree that looks nice from either side. So there you go, we've changed the look of these trees, and I hope you've been pleased with what you did.